Hey, this is Smooth Tim and Larry E, and welcome to another episode of Tim's Tidbits. What's happening, Larry?
Not much, man. You know, the weather's gotten better here in Texas. My allergies are better this week, so I'm ready.
I'm ready to rock and
Ready to
roll.
get messy. Yes, let's
Man,
do it.
well, hey, it warmed up here at least. Well, the foot of snow that we did have on the ground is down to about 2 inches of snow. And we had a
We
good,
had like a foot of ice. It wasn't even snow. It was ice. Real thick ice. It's probably about that thick. Crazy.
hey, man. Anyhow, hey, man, for our viewers, let's a couple things we're going to talk to them about tonight. A divided GOP, what's happening in the Republican Party. Another no-knock warrant slaying that happened just the other night in Minneapolis. And it seems like a lot of people were going into the states where they're starting to unmask and roll back their masking mandates. And also, we'll end up with talking about Trump and what's going to happen with the boxes of record he decided to take back to Mar-a-Lago with him.
Boy,
You know, it's
is.
unbelievable that we always got some great shit to talk about. I mean,
I
it
wonder
just
who's gonna be the asshole of the week. You
Oh
already
yeah,
setting it up
well,
already.
yeah, we'll get. I already got a picture in my mind already.
Okay.
Hey
uh,
man, I'm just saying it's just absolutely crazy. Anyhow, hey, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the GOP party. I mean, I don't know if you've been following it, but they're they've censored a couple of the senators that were serving on the panel that was investigating the insurrection. You know, you've got others across the aisle from each other. They just have complete disarray. Let's take a look at the video and then come back and talk a little bit about what the hell's going on with the Republican Party.
Some live pictures for you from Salt Lake City. You see right there, that's Ronna McDaniel, the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee. The Republican National Committee is about to vote to formally censure two of its own, Republican House members Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. They are being punished because they think Donald Trump is dangerous and because they are working with Democrats on the Select Committee investigating the January 6th attacks. Now, that RNC meeting, as I just noted, is in Salt Lake City, Utah. One of that state's Republican senators takes issue. Senator Mitt Romney, who 10 years ago was the party's presidential nominee, says this on Twitter: honor attaches to Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger for seeking truth, even when doing so comes at great personal cost. Our panel of reporters.
Is it appropriate for the Republican National Committee to censure two sitting members of Congress and also use the words legitimate political discourse in talking about January 6th?
Well, let me give you my view of what happened January the 6th. And we're here. We're here. We saw what happened. It was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power after a legitimately certified election from one administration to the next. That's what it was. With regard to the suggestion that the RNC should be in the business of picking and choosing Republicans who ought to be supported, traditionally the view of the National Party committees is that we support all members of our party, regardless of their positions on some issues.
Do you have confidence in her, Ronna McDaniel, as chairwoman of the committee?
I do, but the issue is whether or not the RNC should be sort of singling out members of our party who may have different views from the majority. That's not the job of the RNC.
There are those in our party who believe that, as the presiding officer over the joint session of Congress, that I possess unilateral authority to reject electoral college votes. And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president. Under the Constitution, I had no right to change the outcome of our election.
Boom. Amazing. amazing. But you know what I was most impressed with, Larry, and I think what happened is Mitch McConnell may have watched last week's show because we had him as asshole of the week.
Right.
For his comments in regards that black people can vote just as easy as Americans.
Yeah, that's the same guy, and I'm shocked. Maybe.
But it seems like he rolled back and says, you know what? You know, right is right, wrong is freaking wrong.
When he made that comment about Americans and black people, it's instilled in him as a upper class white man to think that way. And that's just how it is. Okay, you can't change it. You can only just deal with it and then change yourself and work around it. That's how he is. Now, what he's saying this week is true. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And Trump should be held accountable. It's crazy that they're still trying to hold this guy accountable after all this time. You know, we got other issues we got to deal with. COVID came and passed. We got the new thing with the Russians and the Ukraine. We got all kinds of new stuff. We got different variants coming out every week. Now it's settling down, but we still
got to be dicking around with this guy.
Yeah, I'm like, why? I'm like, what's the purpose on beating a dead dog? At the end of the day, it's water under the bridge. We should move on enough where we focusing on the new president, trying to get him to take care of business, and that's it. So but, I don't understand. I hate going backwards, and they're steady backtracking and going backwards.
But they were speaking opposite of what I would guess to be the majority of the Republican Party's viewpoint may be, and why their viewpoint may be that it was just a bunch of citizens normally protesting.
Well, it's different because they didn't go protesting like Alabama or Mississippi or some kind of rundown town. They protested and here in the nation's capital. What they did was wrong. It was malicious. It was totally wrong. It was
100.
And everybody knows.
But it bothers me that they censor people of their own party, and then I see that even extending. Okay, let's go into Whoopi got her butt kicked off for 2 weeks, right?
Right, she got punished
for a let's say expressing her viewpoint, which she should have freedom of speech, and her viewpoint may have been narrow, but I think her narrow perspective of that was how can Germans hate Jews when they're both white, and she didn't look at it as a racial thing. Well, I guess you look at everybody's of a different race if you want to really put it in a package. But, then there's that. And then what happened, that was Sharon Osbourne. When she was defending, that guy that they were accusing of being racist on, the British networks.
I haven't seen that one.
Anyhow, she got into a dissertation with Cheryl Underwood.
Ooh.
And they blew up at each other, and Sharon saying, well, show me one instance where he actually made a racist comment, and then it went back and forth, and then they went to break, and you could hear Sharon going off, dropping the F-bomb.
The comedian, you mean the comedian Cheryl Underwood?
Yes. And Sharon Osbourne was going off on Underwood, dropping the F-bomb and stuff, saying, you're painting me to be a racist, blah, blah, blah. And all this is what caused by Sharon's now off, what was that, The Talk?
Yeah.
And now you got Whoopi being whipped off of The View, all because they expressed an opinion.
You know what, Tim? I know I see it a lot. Remember LeBron James, they were like, shut up and play basketball.
What did he say?
NFL players, Colin Kaepernick. They don't want them doing all that stuff. They basically want them to shut up, collect their millions of dollars, and shut up.
Like Kaepernick, right? Don't take a knee.
And LeBron James was protesting, kind of like last year, the shootings that occurred. He was protesting. They didn't play some games, and he was saying something. They were like, man, shut up and play ball. At the end of the day, when you're a public figure and you're getting paid all those millions of dollars, and you bought into that program that they bought into, you have to shut up. Your freedom of speech is irrelevant when it comes to you being on The View, The Talk, being the King James, and being all these big name celebrities. Because at the end, Nick Cannon, he was on the radio talk show. Oh
yeah, and he got stifled too.
They tried to get him too. I'm like, and what they were saying holds water. It was irrelevant. It was real. It's something that we should talk about as people, as a nation, as a race, as an ethnicity. I always mess the word up. Republican, Democrat, left wing, right wing. We should talk about those things, but they want to keep it on the hush. You know why, Tim? Because ain't no money in it. Ain't no money.
Ain't no money.
Ain't no money in equality.
Well, there ain't money in a lot of damn things. That's why, you know, you're paying so much for prescriptions when there's natural medication out there. That's another show.
Yeah, that's why you just talk about that amongst your friends and keep it off television if you're going to be on that platform, because you're going to lose money for the network, you're going to lose money for yourself, and you're going to be punished as a grown individual.
And that is the big thing. You know what? I bet you there's some people that's probably got some viewpoints on this. Let me put our call-in number up here. And pop. Let me move this up out of the way. Yeah, actually, yeah, you got an opinion on what we're talking about? Go ahead and give us a call. 817-602-0577. Let us know what the hell you think about all this.
Man, tell us. We want to hear this, because this is a good one.
You know what I'm saying?
Anyhow,
Anyhow, you know, apparently now Minneapolis is in the news again, right?
Yep, I read up on that, looked at that, yeah.
It's like another school shooting. Oops. Let me get that back to where I'm supposed to be. Another school shooting, and all due to the no-knock warrant. And I would have thought that we would have learned our lesson the first time, but apparently. Okay, well, apparently that video is not going to want to play.
Let's start tonight's show by asking you at home or wherever you may be to take a look at where you are in this very minute. Where are you sitting? What are you doing? Are you sitting on the couch, tucked under a blanket? Maybe you'll doze off there before you can make it to bed. Look, honestly, we've all been there. Now imagine that in the comfort of that moment, you wake up in the early hours of the morning to a group of armed men barging into your home. You're confused. You're scared. What are you going to do? How are you going to react? For 22-year-old Amir Locke, a black man in Minneapolis, this wasn't some imaginary scenario. No, it wasn't. Early Wednesday morning, police killed Locke while executing a no-knock warrant. And before we get into the circumstances surrounding Locke's death, I actually want to take a step back for a moment. I want to tell you a little bit about his life, because once again, we have to learn about another black man in America, not because of how he lived or what he wanted to do or what he did with his life, but by how he was killed by the police. Amir was born in the suburbs of St. Paul, Minnesota. As a kid, he played basketball, even tried out for his high school football team. But his true passion in life, his true calling, he felt, was music. And before his death, Locke had filed paperwork, to start a music business, even designing a logo. This week, the 22-year-old had planned to move to Dallas, where he hoped to take the next step in his hip-hop career and be closer to his mom. His father described his son as a bright light, and his cousin remembered Locke as having a big heart. In Minneapolis, he worked as a food delivery driver, and according to his family, he had recently purchased a gun for protection due to a spike in carjackings. Now, that gun, which his family says was purchased legally, is now at the center of what took place Wednesday morning. When police entered the apartment, they found Locke sleeping on a couch, under a blanket, with his weapon nearby. In newly released body camera footage, we can see the moments that led up to Locke's death. And we have to warn you at home, this may be hard to watch. Here, you see officers entering the apartment with a key, and just 9 seconds later, 9 seconds, Minneapolis police officer Mark Hanneman shoots Locke. Now here's the thing. No-knock raids are supposed to be rarely used as a police tactic. They were designed to give law enforcement a tactical advantage, because under a no-knock warrant, police can actually enter a private property without first alerting those inside, hence the name no-knock. They're commonly used for drug busts so that suspects can potentially avoid hiding evidence. But the no-knock warrant police had that day was for a homicide investigation, not a drug bust. And Amir Locke's name was actually nowhere on that no-knock warrant. In fact, it wasn't even his apartment. Now, if this whole ordeal sounds familiar to you, that's because it is. No-knock warrants came under intense criticism in this country following the 2020 killing of Breonna Taylor during a no-knock raid in Louisville, Kentucky. And now, following the fatal shooting of Amir Locke, the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, ordered an immediate halt to the tactic while the city consults with experts to review and possibly revise the policy.
Hold on, did they say they're going to review and possibly revise the policy?
You know what? They need to throw that whole no-knock warrant crap into the garbage. I mean, because it gets misused, obviously.
It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scandal. It doesn't work. And the crazy part about it is, when you're killing innocent people, you know it doesn't work. Unlike, who did the research? How's it the wrong apartment? How they getting the wrong people? And how come nothing has happened to Breonna Taylor yet? No charges have been filed against her, and then we have another. And another. How many innocent people need to die before they decide that they need to do something about it? Man, like this creates problems with race. Oh, absolutely. And look, and it tarnishes the police once again. Again. I mean, so, you know, all the good that's been happening, well, you just threw that off to the side, brother. Yeah, I'm like, just something as simple. If you got all those officers, how come they didn't come in with the big guard thing when you no knock and they have the big shield? What's up with the shield? And the ballistic shield? Yeah, ballistic shield. How come they didn't have that? Yeah, I have no idea. And I mean, that should be utilized in every no-knock situation. The one thing that I'd be interested in, they didn't have any audio on that. And you know, there's some type of audio. And it'd be, you know, exactly what did they say and when did they announce themselves? I mean, was they standing like right in front of him? You know, they had a damn key, so you know the entry wasn't really noisy, so to speak. Oh, it's a cover-up. It's another cover-up, man. So they're just sneaking in and come flying in and, hey, you, please. Shoot somebody. And how the hell do I know who you are? All of a sudden, you wake me up out of a dead sleep. Just because you're yelling, just because you're yelling, police, what does that mean? You know, hey. Tim? Yeah. Man, I'm very disappointed. Every time I see something like that, I'm disappointed if an officer takes anyone's life unjustly. But they got to do something about it. And it keeps happening to be the last ones that are notable are African Americans. We're already not American, according to the guy with the 3 chins. We're just here, we're black. But I see why now you're dogging out Mitch McConnell again. Got a chin like a turkey. I see why I see why he said what he said. And it all ties in together. Because if they don't see us as Americans, then the officers don't see us as Americans. And if everybody knows the history of police officers, the purpose they had at the beginning of this country being built, you know the history of it and what they were honestly for in the South. Yeah, let's talk about the South, because let's not talk about Boston PD and New York PD. Those are where law enforcement originated. It's once it migrated down south and started associating themselves with right-wing groups. Right. And enforcing their viewpoints. Yeah, up north it was totally different. And then and now when you don't do anything about it, you make it a race issue. When it's racial tension involved and it's an obvious issue with the certain people getting murdered and there's no trials or whatever. Breonna Taylor said they haven't done with that. I don't know what the accountability on all that is. What's going on? It's easy, man. I'm like, you made a mistake. They're trying to protect the police officers. I'm like, how can you protect? They're the most protected people on the earth, other than the Senate presidents and all those guys. They just don't have They just don't have their own personal bodyguard. They just got their own body armor and gun, right? And I'm like, if you ever want some real protection, be a police officer. Get away with everything, man. Be an interesting job. I could. You know,
Hey, anyhow, if you've been paying attention to the other side of the news, let's go into get off of these no knocks and move on. Hey, man, to all the states starting to roll back their masking. I know that the West Coast, you've seen that California and some of the other states on the West Coast of, maybe Nevada is, into some of their masking mandates. Now it looks like some of the people, some of the states on the East Coast, rather, like New York, New Jersey, Vermont, are starting to roll back. Let's catch a little clip on that, and then I'd like to hear your viewpoint on, what's going on now that we're thinking about rolling back mask mandates.
We begin tonight with news on the pandemic and more specifically on masks. Several states in the Northeast, once the hardest hit during this Omicron wave, announcing plans to lift mask mandates in schools. Tonight, New Jersey's Governor Phil Murphy calling it a major step back to normalcy. All 50 states now reporting declines in new cases, though they are still at more than 313,000 new cases a day. That's higher than at any point during previous surges. New Jersey, once an epicenter of this wave of the virus, had some of the strictest mandates. The governor today saying, quote, "This is not a declaration of victory as much as an acknowledgement that we can responsibly live with this thing." Delaware and Connecticut following suit in the coming weeks. New Jersey's governor, that move takes effect in a month and now will leave the decision up to the schools. New York's governor has been pressed on this. Will she follow suit? And does Dr. Jha believe this is a good idea? ABC's Ariel Reshef leading us off tonight.
Tonight, as new COVID infections fall in nearly all 50 states, more Americans are getting ready to see school mask mandates lifted.
I'm very happy. I could see easier, but also breathe easier and, just enjoy school more without the mask.
I think they should still be wearing the masks. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. It's something small that's working.
New Jersey, once a COVID epicenter and home to some of the strictest mandates, announcing masks will no longer be required in schools starting 1 month from today. The governor leaving it up to school districts to make their own rules.
Perhaps most importantly, this is a huge step back to normalcy for our kids.
I thought that was a good decision. Basically, because infection numbers are coming down, I think it's pretty reasonable to pull back on those mandates.
California, Delaware, and Connecticut say they too are planning to pull back on state mask mandates over the coming weeks. And New York's governor signaling she will make an announcement on masks on Wednesday. Tonight, officials are pushing for clear guidelines for easing restrictions.
We're calling upon the governor again for probably the 20th time to give us the metrics. Let us know what are the metrics, what is the science, when this is going to end.
While hospitalizations are down nearly 50% from Omicron's peak and cases down 61%, the country is still averaging more than 300,000 new cases a day, higher than any peak during previous surges. And health experts caution the pandemic isn't over yet.
We're not close to the end right now, depending on how you measure that. I think that this is going to be a long struggle. This is a virus that's going to be persistent. We're going to have to continue to take measures to protect vulnerable people.
And this conversation about masks only beginning here, Ariel. She joins us tonight from New York. And with all these developments from different states moving forward here, the CDC out with a new statement tonight. Where does the CDC stand on masks at this point?
Well, David, the CDC is standing by its recommendation that kids older than 2 and staff continue to wear masks in schools, but they have consistently left it up to local officials to determine masking rules based on transmission in their own communities. Public health officials urging that the best way to keep kids safe from severe COVID illness is to get them vaccinated as soon as they are eligible. David?
All right, Ariel Reshef leading us off from New York tonight. Ariel, thanks.
Unmask, unmask, unmask.
It's interesting because they talking about mainly about school students and stuff like that. So, but like they say, the numbers are still kind of high. But I think at this point in time with the COVID, I think we have a grasp on it. We're more knowledgeable about it compared to when it first came out. I think that's why they're thinking about taking the mandates down, because of the knowledge we have of COVID. And I think it's all about the knowledge, because it's obviously not really about money, because nobody's really making money off not wearing a mask except for people that's selling masks. But I think we're more knowledgeable. A lot more people are vaccinated. Everybody's not vaccinated, but it's just that the knowledge of knowing what we're dealing with is more powerful than just not knowing. You know,
I look at it. The things that I like, when they said, what's the CDC standpoint, and they think that it should be left down to local officials. And I think, if for instance, in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex area, you still have a high number of COVID cases.
Right.
And especially you have a lot of children in hospitalizations because of this. Why not, in that local area, mandate masking? However, you may be in a small town that may have, a population of 1,000, 2,000, they have absolutely no issues whatsoever with COVID. Why should they be mandated to mask?
That's true. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I understand. Leave it to the local level, but where the shit hits the fan on that is somebody gets a little bit pissy about the way the local governments handle it. No, I'm going to go to the state. And if I can't get the state to overturn this, I'm going to go to the federal government and get that. Well, wait a minute. You just kind of reverse the whole process of what they want to allow you to do. So,
well, it's coming anyway. The mask is going to come off eventually.
Oh yeah, sure. Because you're going to have a certain level of immunity.
Yeah, I guarantee you by summertime it's going to be like no mask at all. Watch, no mask.
I don't have a problem with outside events. If you're outside and just. That's not a problem. When you're in a confined environment and I'm, semi shoulder to shoulder or shoulder to shoulder with people, I like you to be wearing a mask, and I'm wearing a mask.
Yeah, that's true, because people don't listen anyway as it is. So those events are still going on, and people are still not wearing masks. So I look at it like it's a local and individual basis. If you know it's not a mandate, and you're in a big spot with a lot of people, but then you feel safe, you need to wear a mask. If you don't feel safe, don't wear a mask. Vice versa. Feel safe, wear a mask. You don't feel safe, you don't. You know what I'm trying to say, Tim. If you don't feel safe, wear the mask. If you feel safe, don't wear the mask.
I feel more comfortable wearing a mask in an indoor environment and around a lot of people. Just for my own comfort level. And besides, not that necessarily, again, we'll reiterate, it's not necessarily because of the coronavirus. There's flu viruses out. There's cold viruses.
Yeah, we had a real bad incident here in Texas. Everybody was sick. It was. I think
they had the co-flu or some like that was going on. So hey, Patrick Smith says obviously it's over in the UK and things are different as with the vaccine. It should be down to preference. What happened to the land of the free?
Well, we might want to call Whoopi Goldberg and.
Yeah. Well, let's roll back what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, man.
Land of the free.
That's why I say if your local government doesn't mandate it or it doesn't mandate it, you have to wear the mask as an individual pertaining to your own feeling or safety. And I think that should be fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Land of the free. Now, I don't know about that. We see people going down every day because of the land of the free. I'm still waiting to see it happen.
Yeah, how many years has it been?
1600s.
And that's still a joke. Yeah. Anyhow, hey, in fact, real quickly before we move on to the next subject, you see what's going on at the Canadian border? Oh, yeah, man. The Ambassador Bridge, that bridge that runs in between Canada and the U.S. there from Detroit into Windsor. Apparently they're protesting. The Canadian side is protesting, bitching about, the vaccine mandate coming into back and forth into the U.S., okay? And so they got this protest. They're having 4, 5, 6 hour backups. Some of these people have been even worse than that, trying to get product back and forth through Canada to the U.S. across the Ambassador. I don't know what's up with the tunnel. Maybe they can't take trucks through the tunnel. I don't know.
People.
Is that a people thing only?
It's a people thing.
No. But in any regard, so yeah, now they're having to go up to another port way up in the upper Peninsula of Michigan to get over into the get it in Canada. But anyhow, and that's all BS because 98% of the truckers coming across, according to their union, are vaccinated. So what's the fucking problem?
Okay, let me get it. So the Canadians are saying the United States people are not vaccinated enough to come over there?
No, there's a vaccine restriction for transportation rather for Canadian truckers coming into the U.S. and then back into Canada.
Oh, so they're saying we're being uppity then?
Apparently, no. The Canadian government, when you come back in, you got to have proof of vaccination.
Oh, well,
but the Canadian truckers union are saying, how can that be a problem? And none of our people are really pissing and moaning about it because 98%, that's the statistic that their president gave out, are vaccinated. So who's the 2%ers and how many other people fucking shit up? I mean,
so somebody must have pissed somebody else off and was like, you know what? You go over there and come back. You need to get revat.
Who knows?
Damn it.
Who knows? It's ridiculous. Yeah, it is to the point of ridiculous.
Some leader done said something to another leader, and then he said, "Kiss my ass." They're like, "Okay, kiss my ass. We're gonna do about the vaccinated truckers going over there and coming back. What's up with that? What you mean? What's up with that?" So it starts like something like that. Some big wig said something to another big wig. There we go, a power struggle.
You're probably right. Well, hey,
we're
listen.
beefing with Canadians. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Canada. I've never had any problem going back and forth around there or the people. So, I mean, I don't know what's up with that. Just a minority group that's making a lot of noise and getting some attention.
Yeah, Canadians ain't never did nothing to me. Drake, he ain't did nothing to me.
Drake is cool.
Drake needs to start rapping, though. That's the only problem I got. Drake needs to stop singing so much and rap. Rap, Drake. If you're watching the show, Drake, you need to start
rapping again, brother.
Singing. We got enough R&B guys. I'm like, you rap, Drake. Okay, I'm done venting.
Hey, man. Anyhow, our favorite person in the world. Our favorite person in the world seems to have gotten himself in trouble again. And anyhow, all over some love letters that he decided to take with him. Hang on just a second. Here we are.
We about to roast this guy.
Oh, yeah, why not?
Now to former President Trump tonight and the 15 boxes of White House documents and records he took with him to Mar-a-Lago. Tonight, the National Archives now says it has retrieved them. And here's Jonathan Karl.
We are now learning that as Donald Trump left the White House for the final time, he took with him 15 boxes of official records that belong to the United States government and by law should have been turned over to the National Archives. According to sources familiar with the records, the documents which went with him to Florida included letters he received from North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love.
Also in the boxes, the handwritten note that President Obama left for Trump in the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, a letter Trump seemed quite proud to receive.
Is there a line you can share that struck you most?
There were numerous lines, so well written, so thoughtful.
Those documents sat somewhere at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort for a full year before he finally turned them over to the National Archives last month. In a statement today, the National Archives said the records should have been turned over before Trump left the White House, a requirement that also applied to his predecessors under a law called the Presidential Records Act. But Trump appeared to show little regard for preserving official records. According to the archives, many of the records that were turned over when he left office had been torn into pieces by Trump himself, some of them later taped together by his aides, others still in pieces.
John Karl with us live from Washington. John, it would seem the obvious question. Any explanation why former President Trump took the 15 boxes of documents and then, of course, I guess why it took them a year to get them back?
It's unclear, David. We have asked the former president's staff and have received no answers. So we don't know whether he was simply taking mementos with him from his time in the White House or if he had another reason for taking 15 boxes worth of what are presidential records out of the White House.
John Karl in Washington tonight. Thank you, John.
He took his love letters with him.
That's a lie. He was trying to siphon through those boxes for evidence against him.
You know,
and if he wasn't, damn Trump, don't you have a copy machine, don't you? Make some copies of your love letters, bro. It's the White House, man.
I was looking that up. I was curious about and they passed that law here, the Federal Records Retention Act. In 1978, it was actually written and put into law, and then it was actually to go into process in 1981. And what it did was it changed all presidential communications and documents from private to public documents. And that was really in response to the Watergate incident.
Right, I remember that with Nixon.
Yeah. So, I mean, he could be looking at up to 3 years in prison, which you'd never probably see a day, but the penalty is up to 3 years for the destruction and or removal of these records. And apparently, from what I've also heard, and this was on the news, is the archives have pieces of paper that he just tore up that they're taping back together so they even know what the hell it is. Some stuff he just ripped into shreds, and apparently some of his staff says that was just a normal behavior. He could read a document, it'd be an official document, he'd tear it into shreds and throw it on the floor.
He was not a good president. He never should have been president. He doesn't follow protocol. And I think he was actually trying to take out evidence and stuff, or some stuff that he was going to use later to maybe sell. You know Trump, he's a businessman. Or have something for his own personal archives. But still, he's not going to go to jail. You got people that's been doing things way worse than that hasn't went to jail. Trump, they've been trying to throw Trump in jail for the last, since he's been out of office? When he was in office.
When he was in office. Yep. He has acquired so many haters, you know.
Trump has committed real crime outside the office, White House, or the Senate or the government for him to go to jail. He has to go out there and just basically commit arson or something. He can probably get away with arson.
Look at how could you get away? How many times must this individual be able to get away with screwing over people?
He's getting away with murder.
You know, he's filed bankruptcy how many times after he built, his failed Trump casinos and that kind of bullshit, right?
Right.
And what happens now? Your contractors and everybody else is, left with their hand hanging out, not a dime. But Donnie looks good. Donnie gets to be president. How does that work? I take home records that should be, historic property going to the National Record of Archives, and I can destroy them. And we're going to see what the hell is going to happen. I'll be real interested.
Was he still president when he did that?
When he left office, so that should have been during the peaceful transfer of power.
Okay, it could have been considered theft on the highest level.
When you think?
Official documents, tampering with evidence. Like if you go legally and there's something in there that has something that could hold him accountable with the things he did with the stuff he did in office, that could be tampering evidence. It's all kinds of things that can happen with what he did. Dumbest thing he did was, I'm like, why didn't you make a copy of it, bro?
You heard? Hey, Jackie Holly Bell, how you doing? Thanks for listening in. Getting some people enjoy. And Jack, you got a comment? Call in 817-602-0577. Yeah, get in on this conversation.
You want to hear? Now, listen, we all know that he was a terrible president, probably the worst one, because he was not a politician. The reason why he was a bad president, because he wasn't a politician. Now, I think he started learning how to be a politician once he got in office. Okay, so a lot of people always say Trump is this and Trump is that. I'm gonna tell you, this is my opinion, because I do follow when it comes to the Republican Democrats. He is not a politician. That's why he did so bad. Now, had he been a politician, I think he would have did great. With not exciting the ride and
as we've discussed before, some of his economic policies was not all that bad.
No, he just wasn't a politician. He said the wrong things.
He was just he should have been
a thug.
His mouth.
He was a presidential thug. He was a presidential thug. Be honest.
I call you names and slap you around in
rules.
public. You're right.
Yeah, he didn't follow the rules. He said what he wanted to say. He did what he wanted to do. He had the military. Then he had his goons to do his work for him. He was a presidential thug, straight up.
And even he would wipe out people that even disagreed with him from another country. In fact, I want to show a quick video. This is insane. And you remember when Trump ordered the drone strike on Iran, right?
Right.
They had a response this week. They had a leak on the. There wouldn't be a leak. I mean, I watch this video.
Presidential thug.
That's insane.
That's real.
That is a real threat.
You can be touched. Only reason why they didn't, because they know the United States is more of a superpower.
That blew my mind when I heard that was out there. I had to go out and get it and take a look at it, and I was like,
believe it too.
Look at the technology they had. That wasn't videos that wasn't a U.S. person putting that out. That was Iran. Look at the videos they had. Look at that. Come on, man. You can't be touched. Yeah, that was a warning.
And you know what? That's Trump's arrogance. That's how he is. And I've seen it before he became president. He was always arrogant like that with his TV shows, his business dealings. And I'm not saying it because I know the guy personally, but from what I've seen and how he acts, he did the same thing as a president. But that's just how he is to everyone. And that's why I wouldn't take it personally, because I'm like, he didn't do it because he don't like me in general. He does it because that's just how he is. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, he did kind of behave in the presidency kind of like he did on what was that reality show he hosted?
He said you're fired. I remember he said you get fired on it a lot.
Yeah, The Apprentice.
The Apprentice, yes. He was the same guy he was before he became president. Never changed.
Now what's interesting is without mentioning any names, there's a friend of ours that was actually on The Apprentice that made the comment in conversation with us. He is behaving exactly and running the presidency exactly like he did.
Because he's not a politician.
The reality show.
He's not a politician. The whole world was his reality. And in his mind, it was right. He never had a psychological evaluation. I'm like, listen, if you're going to get a psychological evaluation, you need to get one to be the president of the United States. You got to be solid mentally. I don't know about physically, but mentally, you got to be solid because it's a task. You're dealing with a whole country and other whole countries and conglomerate together. So you really got to know your stuff. He was never qualified to be president. He's never qualified, you know. So I thought it was funny, all the things he did with the COVID, with the playing golf and all this crap. I just sat there and just laughed and said, this guy's an idiot. Because he never changed. He never became a politician when he got in office.
And that's again, that goes all the way back to topic number 1 that we were talking about, that this individual still has such a major influence within the Republican Party. It's sad.
Yeah. I used to like Trump before he became president. I liked his TV show. I liked his attitude. I liked his arrogance because he was the boss. He was on Trump. I'm like, I liked it. You know, I don't. You know, in office, obviously, I don't like it because that kind of stuff can ruin countries and it can make people turn against each other. But it's fun to watch on television. You know.
Yeah, the reality show is kind of fun. But yeah, when it affects you and it's real life, it's not so fun anymore.
No, he shouldn't have been the president, and that's why the things he did then, what he's going to do now, and what he's going to do in the future it's going to be the legacy of our country because he's an idiot. He's going to carry this stuff on, and we're not moving forward fast enough. We still worried about Trump. They need to let that guy go.
That's again is what the problem is with the Republican Party. What's your message?
Yeah.
I have no idea what is your message, because I'm not hearing anything except that you don't want people doing this when it comes to, you know, any type of support towards figuring out what happened January 6th and or, you know, we're going to make you shut up. And
yeah, well, they need to make a decision. Either they're going to do something to the guy or they're not and move on.
Support him or move on.
I don't know how they can support him. They can't support the guy because his whole time in office was terrible. I'm like, it was ridiculous.
You're 100% correct. In fact, you know what? Let me see here. For this week's biggest asshole award, it'll go to none other than Donnie Boy, who decided that was so stupid and stupid enough to take home records that could end up landing you in prison. I mean, what the hell were you thinking?
Donald Trump is the black OJ. The white OJ. He's the white OJ. Right?
Wait a minute. You might have a
black
point.
OJ did because OJ wasn't black. No,
but
he's a white. Yeah.
You might
OJ
have
stole
a
all
point.
this shit. Remember OJ stole all this shit?
Yeah, he broke. Where was that? That was in Vegas. He got his ass in trouble, right?
Yeah.
I want my memorabilia back. That was stolen memorabilia.
Give me my picture, give me the chair, and get all the 15 boxes with all this stuff that belongs in the White House. I'm taking it too. I need to go through that. Like he's really moving out of his house. Like, come on, bro.
And it's like the, you ever see the movie The Jerk?
I think so. Who was in it?
You know, that's with Steve Martin.
I probably have.
Where, you know, he's on the porch with this black family, and they finally tell him he's not black, he's white. Wait a minute.
I gotta go back and look at that.
And it's funny anyhow. He gets married, and as he gets divorced, he's like, "I'm taking this lamp with me, and I'm taking this too, and I'm taking this. I'm taking the Resolute desk with me too."
Yeah, give me those pictures. Give me that glass. God damn it! Just give me all them boxes. Trump, I want the boxes.
Unbelievable.
Anyhow, his excuse was, I thought that was my shoes and stuff in those boxes. He's lying like.
And he's ripping off the Americans.
All right.
Hey, what do I know? Hey, man, let's get into saying how we can be followed and. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Hang on a second. Sylvie got me all messed up. My co-host over here. Anyhow, boom, Larry, you're on.
Hey, check
as
it
in
out.
every week, what do we do? Exercise tips, health tip.
Exercise tip this week. Let's do this one. Let's try to make sure we at least. I had a discussion with someone. Make sure at least 30 minutes, 5 days out of the week, you want to get some kind of exercise in. It doesn't have to be strenuous, but it has to be something. You want to make sure that if you're losing weight, you got to bring up the intensity of the exercise. So if you're walking every day for an hour at the same speed, you just maintain it. You're not really losing weight. You got to bump it up a notch. So, but any kind of activity is good activity. So that's LRE's Fitness Solution tip of the week. Any activity is good activity. Let's move around. You can find me on Facebook at LRE Fitness. You can also find me on Instagram at Larry Estelle Jr. /LRE. That's all I got, Tim.
That's all you got, brother?
That's all I got.
Anyhow, you can follow me, Tim McGiffin, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those social media sites. Just Google me, and you will find out all about me. Unfortunately, I'm out there. But hey, Larry, you know what I was going to say in response? Make sure you stretch out before you do what Larry's telling you to do.
Oh, yes, you got to stretch. When you get older.
Get those muscles warmed up.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing some high-intensity exercises or running. You really have to stretch. And I'm going to come back with a tip next week on some of the stretches you can do pertaining to the exercises that you're going to do. Because the stretches are totally different pertaining to the exercise.
That sounds like, well, yeah. Start out maybe with, since we're in the snow season, how you can stretch out before you're out there throwing around 30 pounds worth of slush.
Right, yeah, that's true.
No, I always stretch before I exercise. I put in about an hour worth of stretching and 10 minutes worth of exercise. Shit, I'm worn out from stretching, man. Come on.
No, you can limber as heck but your conditioning is terrible, but you're flexible.
I am flexible as it gets.
But can't run to the refrigerator, but you flexible though. You can get your arm behind and get that milk.
You're damn right. I can reach behind my back and grab milk. I'm a limber.
Right.
Hey man. So anyhow, until next week on Tim's Tidbits, Larry and I will holler in peace, man.